Hello creators, WindCrow here. Today we're talking perspective. In this video, I'll talk about what perspective is, how it works, and what you need to know to construct your drawings using perspective. You'll also see me complete this illustration of another of my Dungeons & Dragons players' characters, using perspective to construct the pose. Alright, so let's get started. Keeping it simple, perspective is how one portrays the position of an object in space. Perspective lets us see objects accurately from certain angles. Perspective centers around two things: the horizon line and vanishing points. The horizon line is usually a horizontal line that shows where your eye line is. Vanishing points are a point on the horizon line where objects converge in the distance. Think about looking down a single road. Everything moves towards a spot in the distance. Using one-point perspective, objects are positioned where one plane of the box will be completely visible and facing the viewer. Objects above and below the vanishing point have their z-axis moving towards the vanishing point. Adding more vanishing points allows your art to have more depth. Two vanishing points allows you to turn objects, with the horizontal y-axis now converging to a vanishing point along the z-axis. Three vanishing points, and you can show extreme high or low angles, and the vertical x-axis now runs towards another vanishing point. Adding more vanishing points can create the fisheye effect. You don't really need to go beyond 3, but it can be done. Perspective is a key art fundamental. Using boxes in perspective allows you to frame the angle of the overall piece and the objects within. A key insight I forgot to mention is that when turning objects in perspective, the vanishing point moves in proportion. So turning an object to the right moves the vanishing point in that same direction and degree. You can keep going until it moves to the other side or disappears completely, leaving you with one-point perspective. Now that I've talked a bit about perspective, I'll go ahead and make some comments on the piece I'm working on. This is another illustration of one of my Dungeons & Dragons players' characters, WYLDWATCH. For this piece, I decided to use a low-angle 3-point perspective to get the figure of him being large and imposing. I outlined the figure's frame with a box and used smaller boxes for the individual parts of his body that emphasize the perspective. I'm still learning perspective, and I noticed a big issue later on. With forms like a box or a cylinder, the further above the horizon line, the more of the bottom plane is visible. I don't think my smaller boxes worked with that, so I messed up on the overall perspective. It's always good to take the time to triple check when doing your lay-ins. Of course, mistakes happen, and this was a learning experience, so I'm glad I made it. Another goal with this illustration was to refine my rendering process. I wanted to get better at painterly rendering, so with the lighting I looked at references of mecha illustrations I liked to get the same feel. I really had fun showing the forms with the light, and I think it worked. For improvements, the biggest thing is getting the perspective just right. I also could have reduced the spread of the light a little bit so it didn't take away from the shadows. Big things to work on, but this illustration is just one more step on my journey to become a great artist. And we're done. I hope you all enjoyed the video and this finished illustration of WYLDWATCH. I know it's been a little bit since the last video, but I promise you, more will be coming out soon. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and comment on the video. You can also follow me on my socials using the link tree in the description down below. This is Nari, rolling out.